We have big news for the Texans. This could be huge. And honestly, I think it's a great idea. A lot of people do not like this receiver coming to Houston. They think it's a bad idea. I personally think it's a perfect fit situation. And we're going to talk about why I absolutely love Deebo Samuel to the Texans. He's been linked to multiple teams this offseason. But first things first, if you're new to the channel, please be a part of the 5% of the community that is subbed to the channel while watching these videos. 95% of you are not subbed. And this is the place to be for all Texans news. I would love and appreciate all the support we can get on these videos. Thank you guys. And just subs to the channel. All right, Deebo Samuel. A lot of people, and let me know your thoughts on Deebo Samuel in the comments. Because I feel like a lot of people are like, I don't know, Deebo Samuel, I don't want him on my team. Honestly, I think it's one of the most underrated incoming, potential, trading, signing, whatever you want to call it. This is one of the most underrated moves in all of football. Because the thing with Deebo was on the Niners, he had to be the guy to do everything, right? McCaffrey went down last year. Kittle wasn't as involved. Deebo had to be the guy all the time, and he couldn't show up all the time. Ayuk was kind of hurt during the season, and Samuel had to be the guy. He's 29 years old, so it's a little bit of a I don't know if we want him. The injuries are there. But the reason I love Deebo Samuel is he doesn't have to be the guy to do it all on the Texans. You got Nico Collins. You got Joe Mixon. And then Deebo would be a good 3-4 option in that system. And all the Texans need is a wide receiver that can get open. A guy that can run routes and catch the ball in open space. I don't know why people think Deebo Samuel can't do that. Yes, I know the injuries are a problem. The hamstring, I don't necessarily like it either. I like how he can line up in the backfield. You can bring him from one side of the slot to another. And heck, you can even draft another wide receiver. Tez Johnson, get another guy on the outside. Put Samuel in the slot, kind of where he belongs. Tank Dell's going to be out for a while. Anyway, the graphic I have on the screen right now. Yes, he's declined every single season. The contract extension, it's kind of a prove-it deal for Deebo. But I wouldn't even mind giving up a third-round pick for him. He's a good receiver, and I kind of like it. I really do. I don't think there's a reason to argue against it, really. And yes, I would rather T. Higgins. Yes, I would rather go get Garrett Wilson. But is that even likely at this point? Probably not. And Deebo's the next best option, and why not have a reunion where he comes back to the coach that he just played for in DeMeco Ryans? Let's check on his stats from last year. Deebo had solid numbers. 800 yards, 13 yards a catch, 81 targets, 51 catches. The Texans don't need him to be the number one guy. And he was kind of the main receiver for the Niners last year, and that's kind of the biggest thing. What do you do with Deebo? You can do so much with him in that offense, and it's honestly kind of perfect. So I personally love Deebo. I want to hear everyone's thoughts because people might tell me I'm crazy. This report that they're actually going to pursue Deebo is a great idea. Giving up a third round, I would not give up more than a third round pick, but I think if the teams are interested, I would be willing to pay the higher price. Second, way too high, especially for a receiver who's 29, and the Niners are trying to dump his contract, two, move on from him because he's getting older and he's getting injured. But the thing is, the Texans need a wide receiver. And this tells you that they are not going to go after Stephon Diggs. Jordan Schultz, reporter, basically reported that the Texans, Commanders, Broncos are interested, and they're talking to John Lynch. Deebo could be on the move sooner rather than later. So this is a serious update. And this kind of just tells you that the Texans are out on Stephon Diggs. And I'm a little bit surprised by that. I like it a lot that they're not. I like the fact that they don't want to re-sign Diggs because I personally didn't want him on the team either. People bring up the veteran leadership. He's 31. He's coming off a torn ACL. Yes, he had a decent season last year, but you could see he was not the Bills wide receiver self that we were expecting him to be. But we weren't expecting that. We were wanting him to be a number two. Besides the point, Diggs played good last year. The problem is you can't bring a guy back if he's not going to bring any upside. Deebo has the upside. Yes, the question marks and the injury problems are there, but I think you can disregard that because any player can get hurt. Any player can go down. Nico was banged up with that hamstring last year. You can't really hold a player back because he's injured all the time. You know what I'm saying? So Deebo, I think, is a perfect kind of situational type of player. People call him a high-end number 2. I feel like considering he was the 1 on that team for so long, he can definitely adapt to the role the Texans want him to be. Because Diggs was kind of the route runner that we wanted to be, but he was still kind of playing that number 1 role. And this is where, again, I'll go back to my comment on Stefon Diggs. They are done with Stefon Diggs. I personally love it. I was expecting them to bring Diggs back on a 1-year, $10, $15 million deal, but for some weird reason, some teams are interested in Stefon Diggs. I saw the mock deal for him was like 2 years, $30 million, and I'm like, who's going to pay Diggs 2 years? He's 31 years. I was like, that's the dumbest contract ever. So the whole news with Deebo Samuel, I love it. It's a great idea, and you don't have to give up much because the Niners want to get rid of him. Give up a 4th, give up a 3rd, give up a 4th and a 3rd next year. I don't care. Whatever you have to do, and then restructure his contract, and then go out and get an offensive lineman. Unfortunately, Trey Smith got franchise tag, even though the Chiefs said they didn't want to use a franchise tag. Nick Bolton has done another linebacker who can be a big addition. But right now, the Texans' biggest need, I think, is wide receiver and offensive line. Those are kind of tied for me. And then it goes to the defensive line, and then more depth at secondary. I want to dump Dalton Schultz's contract, but this is the thing. Deebo is a good idea. And I really want you guys to kind of convince me, because I know there's some people that are hating on Deebo, and it's like, I'm really interested to hear what people have to say why he's bad. I mean, he really isn't. His yards after catch ability is incredible. Deebo's ability to catch the ball in space and turn up field and to be the number 2 wide receiver on a team with a quarterback like CJ Stroud, who I think is a little significantly better than Brock Purdy and all the receivers Deebo's ever played with. I mean, that's just me speaking, but personally, I believe that. I know there's going to be somebody that's like, oh, Deebo, that's a terrible idea. Convince me why, other than the injuries, because anybody can get hurt. Why do you not go after a player like Deebo Samuel? Because you can always draft a receiver in the 2nd round. Matthew Golden, like, why not? There's so many things you can do. And I would even consider drafting a running back in the 4th or 5th round like Brooks from Texas Tech. But there's so many things the Texans can do. And right now, I think Nick Caserio is doing the right thing by going after a wide receiver in Deebo Samuel, T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, somebody. And Caserio is smart because he knows he doesn't have a lot of money to work with. You're going to have to go take a risk on a player whose contract is a little bit lower, not a lot of guaranteed money. Remember, Deebo's contract went from a $24 million cap hit down to a $15. So I really am a little unsure why the Niners want to move on from him. They might as well just tear it down and rebuild because McCaffrey doesn't look to be the same guy. I know he was playing through injury, but excuse me, there is so much going on, and this kind of trade rumors thing, I am very excited to see what the Texans do, what they give up. This is going to be, we're going to make some update videos on this, but this is coming very soon for the Texans. They're going to trade for wide receiver Deebo Samuel. I've been protecting it for a week now where I'm just like, okay, Deebo actually makes the most sense out of any receiver. You can try and get the bigger names like Garrett, but at the end of the day, you have to do what's realistic for the team. And Nick Caserio is such a smart GM. He's such a non-aggressive, but aggressive at the same time because back-to-back got CJ Stroud, got Will Anderson. That was crazy, but you never expect it. That's why I say non-aggressive, because you're not expecting him to make a crazy big move, but then he'll do it. And then you're like, I don't like that move. Kind of like the Joe Mixon move last year. I think people were like this on it. At least I was until I saw the way he can run. And that's just the way it is. But that's all for me. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Please hit that sub button if you're new. Let me know your thoughts on a wide receiver Deebo Samuel. Who should the Texans get? If you're the GM, you watching this video right now, you're the GM, who are you trading? Who are you drafting? Who do you want on the team? Give me a rundown. If you want to go in position, order position, go for it. Let me know your thoughts. Give me some ideas. What players, what rumors are you hearing? I'd love to hear from the community. Thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate all the support on the videos. And we'll be back soon with another episode shortly. Stay tuned.